Hello, hello. Hey, it's Sasha here. It's August 30th, and I'm coming to you with the Venus report on this Friday evening. Friday is sacred to Venus, and my intention is to bring the sky story down to earth so we can receive that guidance right now because things are intense on this planet Earth. Hey, hey, good to see you. I'd love to hear where you are planted on the earth right now. If you want to put in the comments, if you hop on or you come in for the replay, I always love to know where people are on this incredible planet we have here and the way we get to connect. So today is the new moon plus many planets and a major asteroid in Virgo. And I just wanted to reflect on where we are in the cycle of life. And I'm really feeling how much the winds of change are here. There's so much changing so fast, and we are in a new cycle in the sense of a new moon, and also we're in a time of being in the cave and being internal because both Venus and Mars are in the underworld. And so when we look at who are these players, what do these planets represent in our being? Mars represents the masculine and Venus represents the feminine, the receiving, the heart, the connection. And the masculine is the way that we go forth, the way that we seek, the way that we go after what we want. And when these are in balance, we become whole beings. And that is very much the invitation right now as we're coming into the home stretch here, into the age of Aquarius, which is a 2,500 year turn of ages, is to come into greater balance than we've ever known within ourselves with these two primal energies, and then also to relate to other from that place of wholeness. That is what we're being asked, and it so connects to this Virgo energy because Virgo, the sign of Virgo, is this consciousness of being whole unto oneself, being a virgin in the most ancient sense of having our own agency and not looking to other in order to have our meaning and have our worth. And this traces back to the ancient priestesses in Greece and in Rome who were called the Vestal Virgins, and they were the guardians of the fire. So I want to bring that myth out a little bit tonight because it's really important right now that we're able to tend to our own fire. And this time we're in right now, we have the new moon in Virgo, and obviously with the new moon there's the sun right there. That's what makes a new moon. We also, as I said, have Venus and Mars who just had a union on the 24th, which means that they came together as they do every 2 years about. Yet this time they're in the underworld. So it wasn't a usual kind of meetup. It was, how do we meet each other when we're stripped down to essence, when we're not leaning into and relying upon our external success, our looks, when we're hanging on the hook in the underworld. How do we meet the beloved there? How do we come home to more of ourselves that have been exiled, which is what this underworld experience is about. It's about the shadow places where we haven't totally owned who we are. We haven't totally loved ourselves back into wholeness. And that's the invitation again and again. And that's what cycles do. So there's lots of letting go happening right now. That was an intense summer we're coming off of as we're beginning to shift into the fall this next month in September, at the end of September. And, there's the death of how we thought it would be. Of course, the counterculture has been saying this since the 60s. They're saying we have to change. We have to change the way that we're living on this planet. We have to change the systems that are investing in war and violence and ravishing the earth, destroying the life that sustains us. And we need to have an honoring of all people and a diversity of especially different perspectives and in leadership and different voices and different communities, and to protect the innocent. So this has been, the hippies, this has been the counterculture, this has been the artists and the poets and the activists and the cultural creatives. And then, it's been since 2000, that was a huge turning point where people really felt there was going to be a shift in the direction. And then again, I felt it in 2012, this collective waiting or looking or thinking that we may be not going to head off that cliff. And now 2012 was a very important year, as many of you may have experienced personally, and I'll be circling back to that as we begin to talk more about what's coming next year. But we're really at this point where a lot of people are saying, wow, we're going off the cliff. We're really going off the cliff. This is happening. We're not changing course in a tangible way on the ground. And Virgo is this energy of the earth. It is ecology. It is actually the medicine of nature and the medicine of healing through understanding nature and how it can help us, our plant allies and our animals, and just being in nature. And the thing about this cluster, which also includes Mercury, who just went into Virgo, and Mercury is about our mind, it's about how we think, it's our communication, lover of detail. So that's the earth, all the details, all the ways that we see all the parts, and we can learn about the world through understanding the parts. This is Virgo. And then we also have a major asteroid, Juno, there, which is about really, what are we committed to? What do we commit to? So that's a lot of Virgo energy. That's the long story short. There is a lot in Virgo right now. And so we're coming out of this Leo time, which was fiery, and we're grounding into this Virgo energy. And it's interesting because at the beginning, as all of those planets moved into Virgo, they're making this activation with the revolutionary. So the revolutionary energy is through Uranus, the planet Uranus. And it's in Taurus, which is again an earth sign. It's grounding it in. It's making it real. And then as those planets move through and move to the later degrees of Virgo, they're going to also make an activation with the planets in Capricorn. Again, it's an earth sign. It's about discipline and perseverance. So we have this major earth theme. And I feel like there's a way that a lot of people are on overload because we're having our own suffering. We just came through a time where a lot of people let go of a lot. And then we're getting on the internet and we're seeing the Amazon is burning and people are preparing for hurricanes and someone's beloved pet died and someone's sick and someone has cancer and they're getting a fundraiser, and we're taking in all of the suffering of the world. And so this is a really essential time to care for our bodies, to care for ourselves, to unplug, to get silent, to maybe go find a cave if you have any caves in your area and sit in the cave in the silence and just be with ourselves, because there's a potency to meeting the death of how we thought it would be, or how we thought things might go within our lives and within the world. And I was thinking about this a lot. I mean, I personally just had a lot of different letting go experiences in my life. I had minor surgery on my face to get something removed. I let go of a really important relationship. My daughter got sick with the flu for 5 days. So I've been really in this letting go. And there's something in the Buddhist tradition where waking up in the morning, one makes offerings and one pours water bowls and, does one's practice. And at the end of the day, empties the water bowls. And there's a meeting of death in that. There's this this teaching of, well, I don't know if I'm going to make it through the night, so I'm going to empty the water bowls and I'm going to give my gratitude for this life, and this might be it. This might be all there is what's happening now. I was thinking about that tonight as I was watching the sunset, thinking, well, what if this is the last sunset, and I'm gonna empty out my water bowls tonight and dry them and turn them over. And there's something about that, not to be morbid, but to allow ourselves to be really in this underworld energy of, well, this is a moment where we are letting go of a lot of how we had hoped things would be. And I know there's a lot of grief, a lot of people grieving right now with the changes that are happening on this planet. I know there's a lot of mamas out there. They were fighting for medical freedom. They were fighting for the health of their children today, and they had a huge blow in that quest to protect parents' rights and doctors' rights and children's health. And so I can just feel it. There's this like, kind of not giving up, but needing to process, needing to integrate what is actually happening here in this moment in our lives and what's unfolding, and needing to take time. So we're in the underworld. There's so much that's fallen away. We're integrating, and we're also seeding something new, and we may not know what that is yet. We're not going to have Venus come out of the underworld until probably early October, late September. We'll see her in the evening sky. And then Mars is going to transition to the morning sky a bit after that. So they're trading places. They've been in the opposite positions in the sky. So this is really beautiful. Venus is pulling away from Mars. They had their union, their sacred marriage, and she's pulling away, and she's going on her journey. And there's something about honoring the loss. There's something about giving the kind of gratitude that's not about, it's not topside gratitude. It's not about, being so thankful and anticipating what's coming next. It's really this deep bow, this deep bow to our life and to this moment that we have now. And so the reason I am thinking about the Virgo connection with the Vestal Virgins is that they were the guardians of the fire. And the fire represented, Vesta, the goddess, represented the hearth, the heart, where we come home. And there's a place within us, in our being, that is our hearth. That's our fire of passion to be alive. And so if all of the loss in the world inspires anything, perhaps it can inspire us to protect our own fire, to tend to that place in us that feels passionate about whatever we do, that gives us pleasure, that opens us to our creativity. And not that, we all have a different role here at this momentous time on this planet, and that it's really important to tend to our own fire and care for our bodies as we move through. And the Vestal Virgins were completely whole unto themselves as the patriarchal culture began to really bear down around them. They were highly respected as women, had a great amount of equality, and really had their own lives as healers, as there's many stories about the Vestal Virgins. And then eventually their freedom was taken away, and they were very much controlled and not allowed to take their own lovers, and fiercely punished if they let the flame go out. And this was the torch that later became the torch in the Olympics, which again represents that inner fire of life that is sacred to us. No one can take that love of life away from us. No one, that vital force is ours to own, that is ours to tend to. So these Vestal Virgins were quite free, and they were in a closing society. As the Romans came in, it got pretty brutal, and the punishment for them was brutal, and their sisters would have to hear them being punished. And so there was a lot of trauma that was instilled during that role that had once been this very free role. And as we see freedoms around us closing in or not opening in the way that we had hoped and prayed and wished and longed for, it's really important that we find our hearth within ourselves, and that we find the others who are tending to their own hearth, and that we create a culture of appreciation, a culture of honoring wherever we can, if we see it's not happening in the larger culture, if we see it being shut down increasingly in the larger culture with so much violence and so much control coming down around us, so much destruction. So we can start small. Virgo loves to start small, one simple thing. And one thing I'm going to do tomorrow is I'm going to write down all of my losses that have happened, even this last year. There's been a lot that's moved, and I'm going to burn those. I'm going to burn them. I'm going to liberate the energy and just really let it move, because we have this time now to really be with death. And then the rebirth always comes. Life always shows us, nature shows us that rebirth comes, and that will be happening at the end of September, really strongly coming into October. So may you come home to your heart. May you tend to your own sacred fire. I hope I covered the energetics of this new moon and everything in Virgo. And I love hearing from you. If anything touches you, if anything inspires you, reach out. You can message me. You can make a comment here. And take good care of yourself. Good night.